The city of Verdun Prime was burning. Ships flew across the sky, some on fire, some chasing others with laser trails lighting up the evening clouds. The once peaceful trading hub of the galaxy had turned into a war zone overnight. Jaren stood in the crowd, clutching his small backpack. He had only 50 credits left in his name. All around him, panicked civilians rushed toward the last remaining starship out of the city, a rusty, half-damaged freighter called the Emberwing. It was overcrowded. Tickets were being sold at 10 times the usual price. The station guards were yelling at people to stay in line, but nobody was listening. He had just enough credits to buy a single ticket. He looked behind him. No one was following. No family, no friends. Just him. Then he saw her. An alien girl stood near the corner of a smashed food stall. She wore a ripped tunic that was clearly too big for her. Her silver-blue skin was covered in dust and scratches. Two glowing purple eyes looked straight at Jaren, not with fear, but with calm. Almost like she had been waiting for him. She didn't speak. Just looked at the ticket booth, then at him, then back at the booth again. Her meaning was clear. She wanted a way out too. Jaren's brain screamed at him to walk away. He didn't know her. She could be lying. She could be dangerous. But his heart, it hesitated. He walked over. "You okay?" She blinked once. "No money," she said in broken standard. "Please." He looked down at the ticket in his hand. His fingers trembled. This was his only chance. War was coming fast. Rumors said the entire planet might fall. The Emberwing wouldn't wait. But something deep inside him refused to leave her behind. Maybe it was her eyes. Maybe it was the strange sense of calm she had while everything around her was burning. He stepped back to the booth. "2 tickets, he said. The vendor, a greasy old cyborg, growled. "Only got 1 seat left, kid." Jaren's stomach dropped. Then he made the craziest decision of his life. He turned to the alien girl and handed her the last ticket. "Go," he said. "You need it more." The girl stared at the paper in her hand, then at him. She didn't smile. She didn't thank him. She just whispered, "You will not regret this," and walked away toward the freighter ramp. Jaren stood there, watching her disappear into the crowd. He had just thrown away his only chance of survival. Suddenly, alarms blared across the station. "Warning, incoming enemy drones. Impact in 3 minutes." Panic exploded again. Jaren ducked into an alley, trying to avoid the mob. He didn't know what to do now. Then he heard something behind him, a soft hum, a vibration. He turned. The alien girl was back. "What are you?" She grabbed his hand. "Come." Before he could argue, she pulled him behind a large crate. She pressed her hand on a small silver pendant around her neck. A glowing blue circle appeared on the ground. "Emergency jump field?" Jaren whispered. "No," she said. "Royal gate." His eyes widened. "Royal?" She didn't explain. The ground beneath them shimmered and cracked. He felt himself being pulled into a tunnel of blue light. When he opened his eyes again, they were somewhere else. Clean white floors, tall crystal walls, strange symbols floating in the air. Jaren looked around. What is this place? The alien girl stood tall now, calm, powerful. Her voice was clear and no longer broken. "You have entered a secret domain, reserved only for High Command. I brought you here. But why?" She stepped forward, her eyes glowing brighter now. "Because you gave up everything for someone you didn't know. That makes you different. That makes you important." Jaren didn't understand, but he knew one thing: this war was just the beginning. And this girl was no poor refugee. She was something else. And he had just stepped into a story far bigger than he ever imagined. Jaren stood frozen. The room was glowing. Strange lights floated through the air like slow falling stars. He had never seen a place like this, not even in stories. It was too clean, too quiet. And the air, it felt thick like it held secrets. The alien girl, who just moments ago had looked like a poor refugee, now stood tall and strong. She wasn't dirty anymore. Her clothes had changed. A royal robe, silver and glowing, wrapped around her like it had always belonged to her. Jaren stepped back. Who are you? She looked at him with those same glowing purple eyes. I am Kaylani of House Firel, she said. Daughter of the High Queen, second in line to the throne. Jaren blinked. You're a princess? Yes, she said, but not just any princess. I am also a sentinel. He had heard that word before in news clips. Sentinels were alien elites born with ancient technology in their blood. They could control machines, summon weapons, and even walk between worlds using secret portals. But they were never seen in public. They told us your kind were gone, Jaren whispered. Dead after the First War. That's what we wanted. You to believe? She replied. He stared at her, confused and a little scared. So, why were you on Verdun Prime pretending to be poor? I was running, she said. Escaping a trap. My own people turned against me. I was supposed to be taken back in chains. I had one chance to disappear in the human sector. And I bought you that chance, Jaren said quietly. She nodded. And you didn't ask for anything in return. That is rare, even among humans. Jaren looked around. Where are we now? This is an old sanctuary, hidden. Only sentinels can enter. She walked to the center of the room and touched a glowing orb. The walls shifted and a map appeared, thousands of stars, blinking red. The war is worse than you think. The enemy is not just attacking Verdun Prime. They are moving across multiple systems. They want me because of what I carry. Jaren frowned. What do you mean? She turned to face him. I have something inside me. A code, not just a key. The key. It unlocks the most powerful weapon ever built by my people. That's why. They want me. That's why they sent ships to burn that city. Jaren stepped back, stunned. So all that destruction was for you? Yes. He sat down, overwhelmed. I gave you my last ticket. Now I find out I helped bring war to my home. She sat beside him, calm but firm. You saved me. And because of that, the galaxy still has a chance. You don't understand what you've done, Jaren. He looked at her. Why me? She paused. Because when you looked at me, you didn't see a poor alien girl. You saw someone who needed help. That makes you stronger than you think. Jaren was silent for a moment. So, what now? Kaylani stood. Now I must make contact with someone I trust. A rebel captain. She leads a hidden army. They've been waiting for me. She turned back to him. But I can't go alone. I need someone human. Someone unknown. You? Me? I'm nobody. You're the one who gave me freedom when I had nothing. That means something. Trust goes both ways. Before he could answer, a siren echoed in the sanctuary. The floating map zoomed in. A small dot blinked fast in red. Kaylani's face turned serious. They've found us. Jaren jumped to his feet. How? She moved quickly. Someone must have tracked the gate. It's rare, but not impossible. We must move now. The sanctuary began to shake. Walls cracked. Energy buzzed in the air. She grabbed Jaren's hand again. Hold on. Another blue portal opened different this time, unstable. She glanced at him. This one won't be safe. But it's our only chance. I'm with you, Jaren said. Without thinking, they jumped through. The world twisted, and just before blacking out, Jaren heard one last thing. A voice not Kaylani's, deep, cold, and angry. He helped her escape. Find him. Bring me the human alive. Jaren landed hard on metal. His shoulder slammed into something cold, and his ears rang like a broken bell. He groaned, trying to breathe. The world spun for a second before settling into darkness around him. The air smelled like rust and fuel. Voice called out, "Stay down." It was Kehlani. He blinked and saw her crouched nearby, a small blue sphere in her hand glowing softly. She tossed something into the air. A pulse of energy spread out silently in a circle. For a second, everything turned blue, then the light vanished. "We made it," she said. "Barely." Jaren sat up. They were in a massive tunnel wide enough for cargo ships. Pipes lined the walls. Broken signs in alien languages flickered overhead. "Where are we?" he asked. "Old transport lines beneath the mining moon of Draxon 5, she replied. "No cameras, no scanners. We should be safe for now." Jaren leaned against a pipe. "They were tracking us, weren't they?" Kehlani nodded. "Yes, someone wants us dead." He looked at her. "Not just you anymore. Me too." She lowered her voice. "You're connected to me now. That makes you a target." Just then, something clanked in the shadows. Both turned sharply. Kehlani's hand glowed. A curved blade appeared formed from pure energy. Jaren whispered, "Was that a weapon?" "Yes, and we may need it." Footsteps echoed down the tunnel, slow, heavy, deliberate. Kehlani pushed Jaren behind a wall of old crates. She crouched beside him, breathing silently. "They followed us through the jump. This means they have a shadow seeker." "What's that?" "Assassins, born in darkness. They don't use tech. They use instinct and smell. If one is here, it won't stop." Jaren's skin went cold, then he saw it. A tall, thin figure stepped into the faint light. Its face was covered with a black mask, and its eyes glowed green like poison. It didn't walk like a person, it glided like a ghost. Long claws hung from its fingers, and it sniffed the air slowly. Kehlani gritted her teeth. "It smells the gate's energy. If we run, it'll follow." "Then what do we do?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stood, slowly and silently. The creature stopped. It tilted its head. Kehlani held up her glowing blade. The seeker lunged. It moved too fast. In a blink, it was on her. Sparks flew. Kehlani dodged the claws and struck once, but the blade bounced off its armor. It slashed at her, tearing part of her robe. Jaren watched in terror as they fought light against shadow. He wanted to help but didn't know how. Then he saw it, a loose fuel pipe above the seeker. It was leaking. Grabbed a broken rod nearby, climbed one of the crates, and aimed. He struck the pipe hard. Fuel sprayed down. The seeker looked up, and Kehlani, understanding the plan, raised her hand and fired a spark of energy. The fuel ignited. Flames erupted. The creature screamed, backing away, burning but not dead. It rolled on the floor and vanished into the dark. "Again, is it gone?" Jaren asked, panting. "No," Kehlani said. "It's hurt, not dead, and now it's angry. We need to go." She nodded. "Follow me. There's a rebel contact not far from here. A woman named Captain Risa. She commands a secret shipyard. If we reach her, we might stand a chance." They moved quickly through the tunnels, silent but tense. Every shadow felt like a trap. Every sound echoed louder than it should. After half an hour, they reached a hidden door. Kehlani tapped her pendant, and the door hissed open. Inside was a tight corridor lined with blinking lights. Suddenly, a voice came over a speaker. "State your name." Kehlani replied firmly, "Kehlani of House Firel." A pause. Then, "Enter, quickly." The door opened wider. Jaren followed her into a massive chamber filled with old ships, weapons, and alien tech. Soldiers in mixed armor watched them carefully. At the far end stood a tall woman with a scar down her face and fire in her eyes. "Kehlani," the woman said, "you're late." Risa, Kalani said. We were hunted. The code is active. The war is real. Risa looked at Jarin. And who's the human? The one who saved me. Risa raised an eyebrow. Then I hope he's ready, because what comes next isn't easy. Behind them, far in the tunnels, something screamed again. The Shadow Seeker wasn't done. It was still coming. Asterisk. Jarin followed Kalani and Captain Risa through the underground base. The smell of fuel, metal, and burned wires filled the air. Ships were scattered everywhere. Some looked barely able to fly, while others were armed like war machines. People worked fast, welding, loading weapons, and testing engines. Kalani whispered to Jarin, "This place is more than a hideout. It's our last hope." He nodded, but worry filled his face. "Do you think the creature followed us?" Kalani didn't answer. Instead, she looked back at the large steel doors now sealed behind them. Her silence said everything. Captain Risa led them to a small control room overlooking the main hangar. Screens lined the walls, showing views of the tunnels, ships, and defense systems. A hologram of the galaxy flickered at the center of the table. Risa spoke first. "You said the code is active. That changes everything." Kalani nodded. "The enemy knows I survived. They're coming fast." Risa turned to Jarin. "And you, human, why are you here?" I gave her my ticket," Jarin said. "I didn't know who she was. I just couldn't leave her behind." Risa stared at him. That was either brave or stupid. Kalani replied firmly, "It was human." Risa smirked, then sighed. "Well, you're in now, like it or not." Suddenly, alarms beeped. A soldier ran in. Tunnel motion sensors tripped. Something's moving fast. Everyone looked at each other. "It's the Shadow Seeker," Kalani said. "It's still coming." Risa swore under her breath. "We have shields, but they won't stop that thing. It's not a machine, it's alive, and worse, it learns." Kalani touched her pendant. "Then we need to move before it finds another way in." Risa looked at the hologram. "There's one way. A hidden launch tunnel. But it's blocked, sealed decades ago." Jarin asked, "Can we open it?" Kalani looked down. "Only a sentinel can." Risa nodded. "Then it's settled. You two leave through the launch tunnel. We'll distract the creature and hold the base." Jarin stepped forward. "Wait, you're staying behind?" Risa smiled faintly. "Someone has to buy you time." Kalani shook her head. "You'll die." Risa placed a hand on Kalani's shoulder. "Better to die fighting than hiding. Besides, we all knew this day would come." Kalani's voice broke a little. "Thank you." Risa turned to Jarin. "Stick with her. Don't try to be a hero. Just survive." Jarin nodded. Minutes later, Kalani and Jarin were running through a dim corridor. Pipes hissed steam, and old lights flickered. Above them, they reached a massive blast door, covered in rust and dust. Kalani stepped forward, raised her pendant, and whispered in her language. The door responded with a deep rumble. It shook, then slowly opened with a deafening grind. Inside was an ancient launch tunnel, long, narrow, and filled with old cargo sleds. Dust floated in the air like fog. At the end was a small star cruiser, barely intact but still powered. They ran toward it. Behind them, another siren began to scream, this one loud and angry. Jarin turned back. The Shadow Seeker had reached the Chorjiv, the base. Explosions echoed in the tunnels. Kalani and Jarin jumped into the star cruiser. She took the pilot's seat and started pressing controls. Jarin asked, "Can this thing still fly?" Kalani smirked. "It doesn't have to fly long, just far." Suddenly, a sharp sound tore through the hangar. The wall behind them cracked. Open, and the Seeker leapt in, claws out. Jarin raised a metal bar from the floor. "Go!" he shouted. The Seeker moved fast. But this time, Kehlani was ready. She pressed her hand to the control panel. The starcruiser roared to life. A shockwave pulsed around it, knocking the seeker off balance. Jaren swung the metal bar, hitting it hard. Kehlani shouted, "Hold on!" The launch bay opened, and the ship fired forward like a bullet. They burst into the sky of Draxon 5, leaving. Behind fire, smoke, and the screaming shadow, Jaren collapsed into the co-pilot seat. That was close. Kehlani didn't speak for a moment. Then she said softly, "Risa stayed behind for me." Jaren looked at her. "We'll make it count." She nodded, then pointed at a blinking light on the dashboard. "The next step is the vault. That's where the weapon is hidden. We have to reach it before they do." Jaren looked at the stars outside the window. "And if we don't?" Kehlani's voice turned cold. "Then everything dies." The stars looked peaceful. Jaren stared out the window of the small star cruiser as it flew through deep space. The black sky was filled with glittering lights, silent and calm. But inside the ship, everything was tense. Kehlani sat at the controls, focused and quiet. Her glowing pendant blinked every few seconds, showing the path ahead. She hadn't said much since they left the hidden base. Jaren understood. Captain Risa had given her life to protect them. Now they had to make that sacrifice mean something. Finally broke the silence. "You okay?" Kehlani nodded slowly. "I have to be. The vault is near. Once we get there, we can end this." Jaren sat beside her. "This weapon, what exactly is it?" Kehlani looked at him. "It's not just a weapon. It's a machine that controls energy at a planetary level. It was made during the First War, then hidden. My people feared it. They thought no one should have that much power. But now, it may be the only way to stop what's coming." Jaren frowned. "What is coming?" She hesitated. "Not just war. A full invasion. The ones who want the code. They want to wipe out all resistance. That includes Earth." Jaren's heart pounded. "So my planet is already on their list," she said softly. "That's why we must get there first." An alarm beeped. Kehlani checked the panel. "We're close." A large gray planet appeared ahead, half covered in clouds and storm bands. It looked lifeless. No cities, no satellites, no signs of life. "That's it?" Jaren asked. "Looks like a rock." Kehlani nodded. "That's the point. The vault was hidden beneath the surface. Only a sentinel can open it." They descended toward the surface. Thunder crackled in the clouds as the ship landed on a narrow cliffside near a giant mountain range. The wind blew fiercely, and the sky was dark with thick ash-colored clouds. Kehlani and Jaren stepped out, wearing cloaks to block the storm. The ground crunched beneath their boots, frozen dust and old rock. Kehlani led him to a flat stone wall deep inside a canyon. "This is it," she said. The stone looked ordinary, but as Kehlani raised her pendant, the ground rumbled. Symbols appeared on the wall, glowing softly. She placed her hand on the stone. A pulse of blue light shot out. The stone wall vanished. Behind it was a long tunnel made of black crystal. They entered. Inside, it was silent. The tunnel led them to a huge underground room, round and shining. At the center was a large floating orb surrounded by rings of metal. Strange alien energy swirled around it. Jaren stared. "Is that the weapon?" Kehlani shook her head. "That is the key to the weapon. We must activate it and then travel to the core chamber below the planet. That's where it's hidden." She stepped toward the orb dot, but then boom. The entire chamber shook. A shadow moved in the tunnel behind them. Jaren spun around. "They're here." Kehlani's eyes widened. "They followed us." From the dark tunnel came a tall, armored figure, black and silver armor with glowing red eyes. Not the Shadow Seeker. Something worse. A commander. It spoke in a deep, echoing voice. "You should have stayed hidden, Kehlani. Now the code dies with you. Kaylani stood firm. You'll never have it. The commander raised a hand. A plasma blade formed in its fist. Jurin grabbed Kaylani's arm. Can you finish it? She nodded. I just need time. He turned toward the commander. Then I'll hold him off. Kaylani's eyes widened. You can't fight him. Maybe not, Jurin said, but I can slow him down. He picked up a broken rod from the floor, thin, sharp at the end. Not much, but it would have to. Do. The commander laughed. You're just a human. Jurin gripped the rod tightly. Yeah, but we're full of surprises. He charged out. The commander blocked easily, but Jurin didn't stop. He moved fast, dodging the blade, trying to buy seconds. Behind him, Kaylani began chanting. The orb glowed brighter. The whole chamber started to shake again. The commander knocked Jurin down hard, slamming him against the wall. Pain shot through his side. Kaylani screamed, Jurin, stay down. But he stood up again, bleeding. The commander prepared to strike, but before he could swing, Kaylani shouted, Now! A wave of pure energy burst from the orb. The commander froze out. The rings around the orb spun faster and faster. Kaylani ran to Jurin, lifting him up. It's done. The vault is open, but we're still trapped. He coughed out. She held out her pendant. Another portal opened, this time glowing gold. She looked at him. We jump. Together. He nodded, weak but determined. They leapt into the light and vanished. Asterisk light surrounded them. Jurin and Kaylani tumbled through the glowing portal, the golden energy stretching around them like a tunnel through space. It felt like time slowed. The pain in Jurin's ribs faded for a moment, replaced by the hum of ancient power. Then they landed hard on solid ground. The golden light disappeared. They were inside a massive underground chamber. The walls were smooth, dark crystal. The ceiling was so high it vanished into shadow. In the center stood a giant sphere, twice the size of a ship floating above a glowing platform. Its surface pulsed with energy, showing patterns and symbols that changed every second. The core. Kaylani whispered. This is it. Jurin looked around. Is it alive? Kaylani nodded. In a way, it reacts to intent. It was designed to only respond to those who carry the ancient blood, my blood. She walked to a console near the base of the platform and placed her hand on it. The ground vibrated. Rings of light circled around the sphere. Jurin asked, What happens when you activate it? Kaylani's voice was calm but heavy. The core will release a defense wave and energy blast that disables enemy fleets within 100 systems, but only once. After that, it will shut down forever. Jurin nodded. So we only get one shot. Yes, she said. And we must time it perfectly. Suddenly, a harsh sound echoed behind them. Clang. Jaren spun around. The black armored commander stepped through a red portal, damaged, but not dead. Smoke rose from its armor. One of its eyes sparked, but it still moved with deadly strength. Kaylani gasped. How did he? The commander raised his arm. You cannot run from destiny. He fired a blast of red energy. Jaren pulled Kaylani down just in time. The beam exploded behind them, sending shards of crystal flying. Kaylani stood. We have to finish the activation. The commander advanced. You don't have time. Jurin grabbed a nearby shard of crystal and ran forward again. I'll hold him off. Just do it. Kaylani turned back to the console and pressed her hands flat. Symbols lit up. A loud humming filled the chamber. A sphere above them began to spin. The commander swung his blade at Jurin. Jurin ducked, rolled, and jabbed with the crystal. It scraped the armor, but not deep enough. The commander grabbed him and threw him into the wall. Jurin groaned, vision blurry. Still not dead, he whispered. Kaylani cried out, just a few more seconds. The commander moved toward her, ignoring Jaren. Jaren coughed blood but pushed himself up. He saw something, an old fusion pipe leaking near the ceiling. With his last strength, he pulled a broken cable from the floor and wrapped it around the pipe. Then he slammed it against the metal. Sparks flew. The leak caught fire and boom! The explosion knocked the commander back. Just as he raised his blade, Kelani pressed one final symbol on the panel. The sphere stopped spinning. Then, silence. Everything paused. Then, a flash of white energy exploded from the core. A pulse spread outward, faster than light. It passed through metal, matter, and space. In seconds, across the galaxy, enemy ships powered by dark tech shut down. Command nodes collapsed. Entire fleets froze in orbit. The core dimmed. Kelani collapsed to her knees. It's done. Jaren limped to her side. We stopped them? For now, she said, breathless. The wave bought us time, maybe years, but not forever. Behind them, the commander lay on the ground, his armor cracked, body motionless. Jaren asked, "Is he dead?" Kelani stood. "Yes, but others will come. Stronger. Smarter." Jaren looked at her. "Then what now?" She turned to him slowly. "Now we prepare. The galaxy may have more humans like you, kind, brave, and willing to stand for someone else. I must find them." Jaren smiled faintly. "Guess I'm enlisted now." She smiled back. "You were from the moment you gave away your last ticket." Then, from the shadows, a faint light blinked. A hidden message beacon. Kelani read the signal. "It's from Earth. They're calling for help. The enemy has already reached their skies." Jaren stood taller despite his pain. "Then we better answer." Kelani nodded. "Together." She held out her hand. He took it. And as the chamber dimmed behind them, the core silent and sleeping, the human and the sentinel walked out toward the next battle side by side. Jaren stood on the bridge of the rebel warship Valor's Edge, staring at the blue and green world on the screen. Earth. His home. Kelani stood beside him, dressed now in a battle-ready uniform. Her long silver cloak bore the symbol of her house, an ancient sigil of stars circling a flame. Around them, the crew moved quickly, preparing the ship for descent. Earth's skies were no longer safe. Enemy ships had arrived 2 days ago. Most cities had gone dark. Communication was limited. The planet's military was scattered, confused. That's why the signal had been sent, one last desperate cry from a hidden bunker under the Arctic. Ice. And they had answered. Kelani turned to Jaren. "We land in 10 minutes, he nodded. "And then?" "Then we give them hope." He looked at her. "You sure this is the right thing?" She smiled softly. "You gave me your last chance to escape. Now it's time I return the gift." The ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Flames licked the hull as they descended through clouds of smoke. The ground below showed wreckage, burning cities, downed ships, and twisted metal. Yet, through the destruction, tiny signals of resistance still blinked. Humans were still fighting. Jaren clenched his fists. "They haven't given up." Kelani's voice was clear. "They won't." Valor's Edge landed in a valley covered in snow. Within moments, human soldiers surrounded the ship. But instead of attacking, they stopped in awe as Kelani stepped out first, her pendant glowing, her hands raised in peace. Then Jaren followed her down the ramp. One soldier, a tired young woman with dirt across her face, stared at him. You're human," he nodded. "Yes. And her?" "She's with me," Jaren said, "and she came to help." Kelani stepped forward. "My name is Kelani, Sentinel of the Outer Houses. My people once turned their backs on yours. But today, we stand together." A long silence, then the soldier lowered her weapon. "Welcome to Earth." In the bunker, Kelani connected with the human command team. She shared everything, the code, the vault, the wave that had bought them time, and the truth about what was still coming. The humans, tired and desperate, listened carefully. For the first time in weeks, there was a plan. Jarin walked among his people again, but he felt different now. He had seen stars humans hadn't reached yet. Fought creatures they didn't even have names for. But what meant the most to him was the choice he made back at that spaceport. That one tiny moment giving away his last ticket had changed the fate of two worlds. Later that night, he stood alone on a rooftop. Snow fell gently. Lights flickered. Far below in the ruins of the city, Kehlani joined him. He smiled. Didn't think I'd end up back here. She looked at the stars. You saved more than just me, Jarin. You helped unlock the only force strong enough to stop a galaxy from falling. What's that? She turned to him. Human kindness. They stood in silence for a while. Then Kehlani said, When this war is over, what will you do? Jarin chuckled. Maybe open a shop. Sell real tickets this time. No more spaceport chaos. Kehlani smiled. I'd visit. He looked at her. You wouldn't be hunted anymore? I'd be free, she said. Because of you. Suddenly, a bright light shot across the sky, a falling enemy ship, burning as it crashed in the distant mountains. Kehlani whispered, One enemy down. Jarin nodded. Thousands more to go. But we're not alone anymore, she said. He smiled. No, now we've got each other. As the night grew darker and the snow thickened, the human and the alien girl stood side by side, no longer strangers, no longer alone. Just two souls who crossed paths at the right time, made the right choice, and lit a fire in the heart of the galaxy. And it had all started with a single act of kindness, a single last ticket.